Okay, welcome to our Ask the Agronomist podcast. We are back here today with Phil Long. Phil has been MIA.
Just for a few weeks.
Missing in action.
Yes. The holidays sometimes do that to you when you live far away. So
you've been basically a Midwest traveler, to be honest.
Yeah. Using the plane though, so it was good. Amidst all the snowstorms and stuff, we were able to land in the snowstorm and drive back, and it was fun. But I got to see family back in Ohio. So.
Yeah. How was the weather down there? We were we shouldn't complain. The guys up in North Dakota are like negative teens constantly.
Yeah, it's been cold everywhere though. But
it has been.
When we got there, actually, we had snow in Ohio before we had it here, so it was kind of nice. We had a white Christmas,
well,
right,
nice.
Perfect timing, and I didn't expect that. So.
Yeah, well,
I like the snow. Some people don't, but right now I'm thinking it's a little too cold. So.
Right. Well, white Christmases are always good.
Yep. And New Year's.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't last till May.
Yep. Yeah. True. I'm always good with like the snow and then Christmas and then done.
Yep.
So. Oh well, we're gonna be getting it a while, so that's all right too. All right, back on topic. We are here today with our part 3 of our Profitability Series, talking seed traits, seed treatments, and crop rotation.
Yeah, so I feel like it's going to be a little more of a kind of a, instead of maybe cost-cutting tips, it's going to be like guaranteeing your yield, So some of the things that we're going to cover today are going to be more focused on kind of that yield insurance kind of topic.
Okay.
Instead of just trimming costs, but
all right. We
lost
lost our screen, but we're back.
Technology is fun. It's breaking the cold too, I guess.
It is breaking the cold. It's cold in here, and I feel bad for it. Okay. So that sounds perfect. Let's start with crop rotation. How's that sound?
Sure.
Okay.
I when I put this one on there, I thought of kind of the word adage, people use that as something that's used a lot, but yet we don't always maybe remember how important it is and so forth. And that is kind of what crop rotation is, because some people are like, well, I've already got that figured out. You probably do.
Right.
But if you're still on the fence about whether you want to do a corn-on-corn kind of rotation, crop rotation is extremely important. We really only have 2 crops here. Guys up north do a lot more, and then some other countries do a whole lot more rotations than we do. But it's amazing. I looked up, some different studies on that while I was looking into this, and I mean, a lot of universities have many year studies. So when I was at Purdue, we had a 30-40-year study, and Wisconsin had a 30-year study. That just adding one more crop in there can give you an additional 13 to 19% yield. Wow! And that makes a huge difference. You're sitting there, and you're like, how am I going to get more yield? All those things add up to. That profit line at the end of the season. So we can cut costs, but we can also guarantee some of that yield. And that, to me, is what crop rotation is about. If you have to do continuous corn for some certain reason, then that's what you're dealt, I guess. But the crop rotation part of it is extremely important. If you had a third year, you're going to see another 10%. If you had a wheat in the rotation or something. So guys that have more crops in the rotation see that rotational benefit.
So how do you think changes in landscape would affect crop rotation? So, we live a pretty good life down here. We're square, we're flat.
Well, I think people can make it work no matter where they're at. I used to live in Ohio, and we did have wheat at that point, and I was kind of going because of prices and so forth, but, our fields are a whole lot smaller, and working those things in. The rotational part a lot of times depends more on the size of the farm, the size of the operation, simplicity and things like that. We did talk some about squareness of fields. I don't know that so much plays a part in crop rotation as sometimes as simplicity and ordering. Simplicity in a lot of things down the line is why guys do it, or just guaranteed bushels. But everybody has their reasons. But the crop rotation is still extremely important. It's interesting. Continuous corn, a lot of times, if you keep playing corn year after year, it kind of goes down. You usually see that yield hit. So guys will put more nitrogen. Maybe secure some other things, put nitrogen and a couple other sources of protection on there to push that yield back up a little bit. But after so many years, it kind of flatlines. Whereas continuous soybeans, and I've had people ask about continuous soybeans. Typically, it doesn't regain that. It kind of continues a downward climb, unfortunately. There's a lot of things that cause that. But it's interesting because I've seen people do continuous corn very well for many years. But after you throw soybeans back into that, you're going to see that jump again.
Right.
So if you haven't, maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, I've done continuous corn for 10 years on this field.
Right. Why change now?
Yeah. But if you throw soybeans in there, you will see a benefit from that in yield. So it'll be a direct. I mean, it's every time. So
yeah. All right. Well, that's awesome. Good to know. So as far as seed treatments, that's what's next on the list. Is there anything else you'd like to cover on crop rotation?
And I can kind of touch on that too amongst the rest of this here, but you know, the one thing I didn't mention was that when you rotate crops, it's kind of like right now, we're in a really frigid time, you know, and I kind of going into this winter thought, oh, it'd be nice to have a hard winter. Now I'm regretting it. But, you know, it kind of resets things, you know, and that's what a crop rotation does. It resets things. It resets the insect habitats, the disease habitats, all those things, you know, even we talk a lot about herbicides right now. You know, water hemp, that, you know, believe it or not, you know, gives you another, you put soybeans out there and you struggle to control it in soybeans, but then you put it, you know, plant corn the next year, you have a whole different list of herbicides because corn's a grass crop. Right. So just provides a lot of, you know, kind of starting over.
Opportunity.
Since we're in the new year now, you know, kind of a restart.
This is inspirational.
Yeah, a restart on your season gives you an opportunity to try again instead of using the same crop and maybe failing in those, whether it's weed control or something twice. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there, but yeah, the seed treatments, is that where we're headed next?
Yep, that's where we're headed.
Seed treatments, I wanted to kind of focus on, so we don't get too long, focus on soybeans, because I think a lot of people really, that's where they ask about seed treatments. You know, because people are planting corn earlier, you know, and whether you have 2 planters or not kind of depends whether you plant soybeans at the same time or before. Not many people do that. I've known a few, but you know, it just depends on that farm or that particular farm and operation whether they can do that. But in terms of soybeans and seed treatments, it was interesting. The the crop management conference back in November, Sean Conley from up in Wisconsin showed some of their research that showed over 70% of the time with a seed treatment you'll see a benefit, a return. So not just a yield bump, but a return on your investment.
Right.
So that's really important. You know, when guys ask that question, there's no magic number in terms of soil temperature. You know, everybody knows their soil temperatures, you know, and knows roughly when they want to try to plant. So you can kind of plan ahead and think, okay, I do want to try and get my soybeans in a little bit earlier this year. Soil temperatures at around that, start treating some of those beans that are going in earlier. You know, that way you can see it, because that's going to give them that protection. Anytime you have a plant that's struggling out there in the soil, you know, as it's growing at 50 degrees, it can germinate, but it's growing really slowly. And as it grows really slowly, that's when those fungal pathogens start fighting and coming in. Because it can't, just like us, you know, if our immune system is down, you know, you're not taking your vitamin C before you jump on an airplane that's got 40 sick people in it. You know, those kind of things will attack us faster, and then we won't be able to fight it. So that's the same way with soybeans. So, you know, if you're going into that kind of situation, early season, you want to plant soybeans a little earlier, because it does provide, you know, a yield benefit. Just like with corn, you know, you'll get more node production, more opportunity for yield at the end of the season. But I would say putting on a seed treatment is extremely important if you're trying to get soybeans in a little bit earlier. You know, and we have a lot of seed treatment options, you know, and then the ILevo topic comes up a lot. You know, that's something I wanted to throw out there too. You know, guys that are struggling with sudden death and so forth. I mean, that is a great protection, still is a great protection. When it first came out, it was great protection. I remember I was in the university at that point, and it was, you know, we were even talking about it, which is kind of rare. But, you know, even in a situation where you don't have that much pressure from sudden death, you can still see a 2.5, 3.5 bushel increase, which is going to pay for the product. But in a bad situation like we've had in the last couple of years in certain areas, you know, or if you know that your field has lower areas, compacted areas that struggle with that time after time when you have soybeans in them, then treating it is a really good idea, a really good insurance against that disease, because you can see upwards of 7 to 10 bushels increase on your soybeans with that product. So, and then it has a synergistic effect against nematodes as well. You know, that's a great, you know, we still don't fully understand that tie-in there, but it does provide some, you know, protection against you know, some resistance, I guess you could say, a little bit against them as well. So there's probably a synergistic effect there too. So, yeah, just a couple great options, that we have in the soybeans. We got our iron-clad soybeans with several of those traits and stuff. And going back to the rotational part, if you're corn or soybeans doing something continuous like that, this is the kind of thing you need to focus on. Is okay, I need protection against these things because this field struggles with it. I'm going to try and put corn back to back with corn. That's the key. So.
Okay, good deal. And then last on our list is seed traits.
Yeah, and then it rolls right off.
Treats.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, it rolls. This is by far the most important. I can't stress seeds and traits enough because that's your bottom line. If you don't pick the right one, you can see. I mean, usually they show a 20% increase just from picking the right hybrid or variety. But I've heard of well over 80 bushel on corn swings in the same field, in testing and variety trials and stuff. And I mean, that may seem odd, but it's true because if you pick the right genetics for that particular field, those soils, combination of soils, you're going to see the benefit. So that's why I'm saying it's gonna pay dividends. Our field by field program is perfect for that. Sit down, take the time to think about each field. Don't just say, give me what I had last year. Take the time to actually go through each field and really dial in. Use any information you have possible to dial into those things. That's just, I can't stress that enough. That's probably your best thing for making sure and guaranteeing your yield potential is there in that field.
We've gotten really good feedback on the field by field.
Yes.
This year. I mean, not even just this year, but we've had it for a few years, and it's served our dealers and customers well.
Yeah. And I will, on the seed topic, since we're talking about profitability and cutting costs and so forth, one of the things that people talk about a lot is, can I cut my seeding rate? And I can't, that would honestly be an hour talk if I had the time. But, I mean, in general, when it comes to soybeans, we cover such a broad range. I don't want to be general here, but if you're on 30-inch rows and you're planting 160,000, you might be a little high on that. I mean, you can come back. A lot of people are at the 140, 150 mark. But what I want to point out, corn and soybeans, is people need to start paying attention to not just the seeding rate, but that stand that's there at the end of the season. So if you've never went out and taken a stand count, a lot of guys go out and take a stand count at the beginning of the season, and they freak out. They're like, I've only got 105 out there in population for soybeans. I need to replant. Probably not. But what the other thing you need to do is go out closer to harvest when you can walk through the beans, maybe when they, they're nice and brown, leaves are going, and your corn, and take stand counts then. Because if you understand what the population is at the end of the season, then it makes more sense, that final stand. Because you may plant 180,000, but at the end of the season it may only be 105 or 110 in soybeans, so that is important because that's where the yield is coming from. That potential yield is coming from 110,000 soybeans. So when they say 105, 110 is the ideal mark, that's not planting, seeding rate. That's at the end of the year. So that factors in everything we just talked about. What's the pressure, on your field? Did you put seed treatment down there? Are you kind of putting an insurance policy on those seeds so that you'll have better emergence and better stands? You can take that stand count early, but then take that one at the end and see how it compares. And make sure you understand that relationship. Because, you could back down your corn population in a certain part of the field, especially if it's a sandy area or something like that. But you need to understand that difference. So, and that ties in really well to what I do as well on the precision ag side. If you have technologies like that on your planner capabilities or other layers of information, and you don't know how to use it, please give us a call because this would be a great time to experiment a little with that. Lower some populations in some areas and see how it affects those soil types, those fields. So that would be perfect. Doing on-farm research is probably the best way that you can find out how those practices affect your operation. And the pride that comes from that too. At the end of the season, wow, this isn't me just sitting in a talk, listen to somebody. It's I did it on my own farm and it proved itself. So
great. Yeah. Well, very good. I'm sure come spring and fall we'll be moving these outside. So
hopefully, we can be in the field for a few of these. Not today.
Right, not today. All right. Well, thank you for our followers for tuning in, and have a good day. Stay warm.